koi pond circulation, there is a lot of emphasis placed on pond filtration. However, the filter is only as good as the water you provide it with. For every handful of food your fish consume, they will give you 5 handfuls of waste. Poo again, sorry. If that waste is allowed to settle in your pond, it will reward you with 100 handfuls of algae. Lucky you. So now, rather than dealing with 5 handfuls of fish poo, your filter is having to deal with 100 handfuls of algae, and guess who has to clean all that out? Improving circulation in your pond means those 5 handfuls of waste would quickly get transported back to your filter for processing. Great stuff. The only problem is that most of us look at the aesthetics of the pond first and rarely consider how water will move within it. This is called flow dynamics. The perfect shape for a pond is a hemisphere. Imagine half a football. A hemisphere allows perfect circulation that guides all of the pond waste down to a central point. From here your pump can efficiently transport everything to the filter. Just like a wash basin. If all ponds were this shape, fish keeping would be a lot easier. However, no one really wants a pond that reminds them of a toilet bowl. Instead, formal rectangular ponds are favored by most of us simply because they fit with our formal gardens and are often easier to prepare for and construct. The issue with this is the shape creates areas where slow-moving water can occur and deposit waste. This occurs to some extent in all irregularly shaped ponds. If you have the luxury of still being in the planning phase of your dream pond, consider rounding off any sharp corners in your rectangular pond, or smoothing out any sharp curves in your jelly mold design. Anything you can do to keep your water circulation as consistent as possible is beneficial. Above the water line you can make it as formal as you like, or indeed as mad as you like, but try and keep things calm and smooth below the water line. There are things you can do to overcome some of the challenges presented by a pond's basic layout, such as by improving the rate of circulation. The minimum we recommend would be turning the pond volume over once an hour. The more you stray away from the pudding bowl shape, the more you need to increase that flow rate to ensure you're not cleaning up that 100 handfuls of algae. As a real-life example, rectangular pools at home hold 5,000 liters and the pump he uses delivers 8,000 liters per hour. Even then, judging by the sediment building up in the shallow areas, he may also add a second pump just to add some extra circulation. For him this is preferable to having to vacuum the pond out every few weeks. Koi fish food principle or garbage in, garbage out. An old adage from when the boss, Richard, was learning computers at school. What you put into your fish will directly affect what you get out of them, a major consideration with koi. There are lots of different types of food available and everything we stock at Shirley Aquatics is good quality, so you will be giving your fish a reasonable diet at the very least, but there is always room for improvement. We have a lot of customers looking at the protein content in foods and, although that can be a useful indicator of the quality, it's not the whole story. What really counts is the usable proteins in the food, as fish aren't able to digest everything you throw at them. Anything the fish cannot digest will be returned to you, albeit in a less palatable form. Choosing a high-quality food might seem an extravagance, but by doing so you are giving your fish the right nutrition to ensure they produce less waste. Ultimately, if you give your fish good food, they will digest more of it, produce less waste, and leave less for you to clean up. At the pinnacle of fish nutrition are probiotic foods. These can be used most of the year round, meaning you don't have to switch between wheat germ, staple and growth diets as the water temperatures change. They also actively help the fish to digest more of their food and, well, you know the rest. On top of this, the ingredients used in Medikoi probiotic food also provide a prebiotic for your fish in the form of fructooligosaccharides, impressive, A. Known as FOS for short, these are short-chain plant sugars that induce the growth or activity of beneficial microorganisms such as bacteria and fungi. Think of it as giving your fish a Yakult with their lunch. So, this food provides helpful probiotic bacteria as well as benefiting the existing active population of gut bacteria and digestive enzymes. Over time, this results in a vastly improved ability to absorb nutrients, increases body mass gain and massively reduces food waste. If you aren't going for probiotic food, and you wouldn't be the only one, you do need to change their diet throughout the year. We recommend wheatgerm foods for when temperatures get below 10 degrees and to stop feeding altogether below 6 degrees. Then, once warmer weather starts kicking in, staple above 10 degrees then high-growth foods through the summer months. It's important to note that there should not be a sharp cut-off between diets, more of a smooth mixing between each stage. Given that temperature is so important to the diet of koi, we would recommend investing in a pond thermometer. If you're going to keep fish, it's imperative that your pond have proper filtration. A mechanical skimmer is your first line of defense for removing unwanted debris such as leaves and twigs from the surface of the water. If left to decay in the pond, organic material can cause a host of water issues that could make your fish sick. The skimmer also houses the pump which circulates the water, and helps to aerate the pond. A biological filter is positioned opposite the skimmer to create the beginning of a waterfall. This filter uses bacteria to break down pond wastes, converting them into less harmful compounds that can act as aquatic plant fertilizers. First, fish need clean water. Your pond water should always be clean-smelling, and have good clarity. On occasion, the water might be green due to suspended algae, or slightly brown due to tannins. Algae is expected in the spring when the plants haven't yet reached maturity for the season. Once the plants grow, they consume more nutrients from the water, thereby starving algae of food to survive. Ponds in sunny locations experience higher algae growth, but this can be alleviated by shading the pond surface with water lilies or floating plants like water lettuce and water hyacinth. Keep in mind, algae isn't necessarily a bad thing. Your pondfish will eat algae off the rocks in your pond, so it's good to have a little of the green stuff. Too much algae can become unsightly but can be controlled with various water treatments. Second, maintain a healthy population. One secret to making sure your pond water remains balanced and healthy is to control your fish population. Sure, it's tempting to add lots of colorful koi and pond fish to your water garden, but you want to avoid overcrowding. Too many fish creates excess waste in the pond water, which in turn can cause water quality issues. As a general rule of thumb, pond fish need 10 gallons of water for every inch of their length. So a 10-inch long fish needs 100 gallons. If you have 5 10-inch long fish, your water garden should have at least 500 gallons of water. Keep in mind that your fish are going to grow, so be sure to understock your pond in the beginning. Hi! Did you know that keeping koi and pond fish have the 3 basic rules? If you've never owned a pond, or you know next to nothing about keeping koi and pond fish, 3 basic rules will help you create and maintain a healthy habitat for your new finned friends. We want fish to be happy and your water gardening experience to be as enjoyable as possible. Preventative measures for parasites that can arrive in your pond via a number of sources, including birds and amphibians. You will often have a resident, background level of parasites in the pond that the fish tolerate, until a stressful situation occurs. Stressful situations from a fish's point of view include the introduction of new fish, a lot of temperature changes, or poor water quality. At this point the population of resident parasites increases above that tolerance threshold and gets out of control, harming fish in the process. We recommend doing a preventative treatment of something like erratic, an anti-parasite and anti-fungus treatment, in spring and autumn, as well as following the introduction of new fish. This reduces the background level of parasites in your pond, giving the new fish a chance to settle in. We understand that people may have an aversion to putting chemicals in their pond. However, it's worth considering that we, as people, take preventative treatments, multivitamins, probiotic yogurts, all the time. And when we get sick we take medicines, paracetamol, antibiotics. It's the same principle with fish, only they can't tell you when they're feeling sick, so it's often best to be proactive. Koi are mostly like bulls in a china shop, but instead of delicate bone china the shop is full of spikes and steel plates. They'll still charge around like they're invincible. They get knocks and bumps and scrapes all the time. You really need to pick up on these and apply treatment directly to these marks. Propolis is a very good natural antibacterial treatment that should be applied topically to wounds. If you don't act on these bumps and scrapes they are likely to get infected by bacteria, then fungus and even algae. From there the wound will get bigger and bigger and then suddenly you're calling out the vet. Nobody wants that.